Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Sisters Interview. I'm Ashaksi, and this is my sister, Servithkin. And tonight we have a very special guest. We have Duke Dak Ulfredsson from Ontir. He was the 8th and 11th king of Ontir, and is somebody that has been kind of a mentor for both of us growing up in the SCA. So welcome, Your Grace. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
We usually start these interviews by asking you what your SCA origin story is. How did you find the SCA, and what got you interested in it?
Sure. In high school, I had a group of very clever friends that ran a set of D&D games. We all took turns building worlds and all of the things that you do with that sort of thing. And when I got into college in 1979, one of them had heard of this SCA thing, and that there was a fighting practice up in the university district up at the University of Washington. And so he told me when it was, and we showed up there. And Daniel Shadygrove was leading the practice there, and there was some loner armor. And we both took turns getting suited up in this very primitive gear and the ugliest helmets that you can imagine. And we had a practice. And as we were leaving, my friend decided that hurt too much, and he wasn't willing to ever go back again. And it turns out that he didn't. And I, on the other hand, had a little bit more fun than that, and started showing up. And believe it or not, it was very difficult. I'm pretty shy, and that was a whole bunch of people I didn't know, but they were very welcoming and very open to helping new people get started. I think in that environment, it was because of the high turnover in students and whatnot. They were skilled at it, but still, it was very a lot of fun. And then so that was 79 in the fall, and then in 1980, I went to my first event, which would have been an Ontir. It was a principality then, and so it was a cornet tournament. And I didn't know at the time, it was Edward Zafran that was prince at the time, and Steingrim, who I later became good friends with, was the victor that day. And of course, that Sunday, Mount St. Helens erupted, and it was a huge panic to leave up in the Snoqualmie area, this small campground. Everyone completely freaked out, understandably.
Yeah, with reason.
To try and get home. And I hadn't really even picked a name. I didn't fight in the tournament, just some pickups and everything. But that was the first tournament that I actually went to.
Did you have your own armor by then?
I had yeah, I think I did. It wasn't the stuff that I made and had worn ever since. It was a coat of banded plates on a with a canvas outer, and no upper leg armor, and some hockey knee pads with I think at that tournament I had to tape some foam on the outsides of the knees because, well, you had to be safe.
They didn't quite cover the points.
Yeah.
So in addition to your D&D background, did you have an interest in medieval history, or did just the SCA sort of suck you into the fighting and like your interest bloomed from there?
Certainly the fighting did, but I guess well, so as a child, I played with dolls, boy dolls, of course, for me.
Dolls are for everyone.
They are, and at the time the GI Joe line was very popular, so I had those 12-inch figures and whatnot. Gosh, but the two dolls that I enjoyed the most were the Viking and the knight, and I even had the horse and the armor and all of that, and I kept them very nice too. But yeah, so I would say that I was interested, and those were my favorite of the toys there. So
Very cool. Did you hook up with somebody at the Seattle practice that became your mentor, or?
well, initially I don't I don't recall that well. I mentioned Daniel Shady Grove. He took in a lot of the newcomers and was very helpful. He helped me design and build the armor that you've seen me in, the leather with the with the with the metal stripes on it. And that lasted me all of my time fighting. But eventually I I grew closer to some of the other fighters. Living in the same dorm I was, Grendel,
Oh
Master
wow.
Grendel, lived in the same dorm, so he was about the same age. And um, Garen was at the practice, Sir Garen, and of course um my my best friend at that time was Duke Torgal, and then a number of the others. Sir Wilhelm Pickrate at the time, um, Sir Whedon, and hanging out with that crowd was every night. Every after the Wednesday practice, we'd go up to the Shakey's and have beer and pizza, that kind of thing. So it was a lot more than just the fighting. It became my entire
Social life.
social, yeah. Everything revolved around that.
Very cool.
Aside from armor, how did your first costumes come about, and what were those like?
Oh, sure. So let's see. The so for I went to practice in that first tournament. I would have shown up in blue jeans, but somebody mentioned something about that, so I sewed some white stripes down the legs to make them more of a uh, a,
Awesome.
a little variegated, and then I sewed up I went to the fabric store and got some tunic material and sewed up a tunic and some horrible golden trim that I put around the base of it. And yeah, I did my own costuming then.
And
I might have some pictures.
oh,
Yeah, sadly. Um,
Do we
so
want to look at them?
did you just kind of figure that patterning out? Did you like trace
there
around?
were, I think, in the was it the Known World Handbook? Perhaps there were some T-tunic patterns, that sort of thing. Of course, there wasn't much in available internet-wise or anything like that. You had to go to the library and books and photocopied things passed around and whatnot. But yeah, there were resources, and Danny and some of the other folks had them and would loan out copies, that sort of thing. And I was in between dormitories and home, and my mom had a sewing machine, and I just used it. So
Cool. Do you want me
Very
to show a
brave.
couple pictures?
Sure.
uh,
Oh,
sure,
it'll be fine, Your Grace.
yeah, they have to be true, right?
They have to be true.
No Photoshop has occurred.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see that?
Oh yeah. So Frederick and Delaney on my left there, the they eventually Baron and Baroness of Madrona, and then Lynn the Far Over, um,
Oh, wow.
And you?
and
Yes.
yeah, me. That's a lot more hair on my head. Gosh,
Oh, that curly hair.
It's so
yeah.
pretty.
Let me see if there's another one. I think there is a card.
Oh, that suit of armor that Torgal is in the bottom is right there behind me.
Oh, cool. It is right. That is it. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, come on.
Did these come from Her Grace and Einharad?
Yes. Yeah, that's the chainmail over here that I'm in, and that was the second helm that I'd made. And by that time, that's the leather and
So you made
steel.
your own homes, and that was just from
That
instruction.
helm was no, that helm was made by Sven the Armorer, I think. Uh, and I bought that from him. The chain I made and the rest of the stuff. I bought the elbow cups, and the rest of it I believe I made.
And did you, growing up, did you have parents that were crafty and made things? I mean, how were you able to just hop in and just make all this stuff?
Well, certainly the armor, I got a lot of help from Daniel Shady Grove was a leather worker, I guess, was one of his skills, one of his trades, and he helped guide me into what kind of leather to buy and whatnot. After perusing a bunch of the Osprey books, the drawings of the Viking Age one and everything like that, to pick out something that I thought was attractive to me, and so there was that. My mom was quite crafty, but not with this sort of thing. And my dad didn't do much with uh, in that way so much. So, but I didn't know any other way to do it. I mean, people were making this stuff and everything, and of course, Torgel makes everything seem beautiful that he touches. So that's something of an inspiration. At least it can be done. I can't do it that well at all, but at least you can try. So
Yeah.
Did you meet Torgel through the STA, or were you friends with him before?
no, not before. Absolutely through the SCA. Met at fighting practice, and I think we just got along. I know that he so didn't have any leg armor and started fighting more regularly, and just got hammered in my left leg. I was using a roundish shield, and just the left leg got beat up. So I went home, and I and this was very early on. I took 2 sheets of some some 16 gauge flat steel, and I didn't know anything at all about what I was doing, and just riveted them together and then folded them in a curve and hung it off of my belt on the left leg. So just the outside of the leg to take some of that beating. And then Torgel goes down to some Western Crown event, and he comes back and he's learned to throw an offside shot. And
No.
the third one of those, I had to beg off. I had to say, I can't do that anymore. And he says, "Oh, I won't throw that one anymore then." my leg my leg turned purple. It was I my mom saw it and she said, "You can't do that anymore. I won't let you." I had shorts on or something, and it was purple and yellow up and down the side of my leg. And then shortly after that, I built the regular armor. So,
It's amazing how much armor helps, right?
oh my golly, yeah, yeah. No,
So was Torgel sort of a mentor, because he was sort of established already, right?
he was definitely more advanced. He was skilled at that time. He had the advantage of having fought with his older brother who had gotten in, and I think that gave him some incentive. But I never met his brother until much later on, after he'd been out. And so by the time I met him, he was um, uh, uh, only within a year older, so we're about the same age. And I don't know, we really got along well. And when he came back from the West and he'd been knighted, I think I simply said, "So I heard you got knighted, and knights need a squire, don't they?" And that's how I got squired. So
So you were squired to Torgel.
I was, yeah. And I have to say, and I know I've said it to others before, but it's true. If you know, if we could have frozen time, then that's the happiest, I think. No, you just do what they tell you to do, and you know that it's right because your knight said to do it, and so you don't really have to, you know, work too hard.
Right, there's no expectation. You just go and do it, and when you do really good, everybody's very happy, and
Yeah,
it's a nice place to be.
it is. Yeah.
It's good as long as you have a benevolent knight who doesn't make you do weird stuff.
I had to fight one time with a pretty bad, I don't know, some kind of perhaps a hangover. I don't know. I could barely stand, and he insisted. So
That doesn't sound like him at all.
no,
I think Skaggy told a similar story when I interviewed Skaggy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the right thing to do, of course. So
Well, if your knight tells you to do it, you just go do it. You're not going to
That's
die.
right. yeah, and it was good practice.
Everyone needs to know how to fight hungover.
That's right. But if you did have to fight, so
Oh, go ahead.
I-
See,
Go
I
ahead.
cut you off, and now you're not going to tell me.
no, I honestly I didn't have. I think I
Okay.
was just making a noise.
I was just gonna say, when did because culturally in Ontario, people are encouraged to fight crown like right away. So when did you start fighting crowns after Mount St. Helens blew up?
Yeah, so everyone I could get to for a few years there, between school and work, I worked in a grocery store, and of course they were open on the weekends, and that's when I could get some hours in. And so I wasn't too regular at making it to tournaments, um, and I hadn't really met too many people either. But after a little later on, I started to I got more engaged in the group and whatnot, and started to try and set those weekends aside. But of course, they're holiday weekends, so it was especially challenging. But I had more seniority then in the position, and so I could get on the schedule. So I'd make, for a few years there, one or the other of the crown tournaments, and then tried to get to some of the other events as well.
And when you were Torgal Squire, what did your training look like? How many times a week did you go to practice and that kind of thing?
So with almost out fail, even in the the dark winter, we'd make it out, cold or wet or anything. We'd make it out every Wednesday. Weekends, tournaments when we could. It's the one thing for anybody trying to fight as often as you can. I didn't have then, and I never adopted any other kind of regimen, but fighting, to fight as often as I could, rather than some kind of exercise. Just put the gear on and go fight. Had tournaments later on. Had tournaments at the house here, in the neighborhood, and then we'd travel as often as we could to get in a broader variety. Facing new styles is I think the single biggest challenge for any fighter. Somebody doing things that you've never seen before, and being able to adapt to those things are the most challenging thing of all, I think.
Did you start fighting in the High Guard?
No, the High Guard was introduced some fairly soon. I started with the round shield. That was the regimen back then. To everybody started with that, with not a center grip, but a mounted against your forearm.
Side mounted.
Yeah, and
The worst of all worlds, right there.
yeah, and rotational blocking and all of that kind of stuff. And so tried that for a while, and then went to a heater with a high, primarily a High Guard. Yeah.
I thought you had a question. You look like you were poised.
Listening? No, sorry. We're really organized.
Fine. One of the things that you're super well known for, and that is inspiring and kind of amazing about you, is how invested you have gotten in having your camp look a certain way and your clothing look a certain way. And I mean, some of the stuff is sitting behind you right now, which is super cool. When did that interest come to you, and when did you start collecting things or deciding that was something you wanted to focus on?
Sure. I think that was also inspired in part by Torgel, and I think I recall him kind of kicking off the idea of having period pavilions on the Eric, like in his first reign. I believe he was one of the, if not the first up here to do such a thing. And thinking about that and what we were trying to do, the premise of the SCA was to recreate the Middle Ages, or that for me, that section of the Middle Ages that inspired us, the Viking period, was very interesting to me. And of course, having access to some of Torgel's abilities, during my first reign, I contracted with him to produce things, whatever things that he wanted, and I'd pay him a certain amount every month of the reign. And it turns out not to be anywhere near what the value of the things that he delivered, but just I don't know. What else is there? Why not have the nice things and enjoy them? I know other people don't, and it's difficult for them to adjust their resources. But for me, these things were a priority, and beautiful things that I wanted. Um, they're just inspiring to me to have them around. They still do today. I have them in my living room and look at them every day.
Well, you and the Varangians, and maybe we can talk a little bit about if the Varangians already existed when you started or how that came to be. But you've basically imprinted on the Untier culture this Viking imprint, really. And people have you've inspired by example, and people come in and that's what they want to be because they see you doing it so well and they see other people doing it so well. Basically, the Varangians probably. So it's interesting to me to figure out how that all came to be, because it's been such an important part of how the kingdom has developed, I think.
I don't know that there was a specific intent, certainly not by me. I joined in with those. I was so happy to be invited into that. And there was, as I recall, there wasn't a formal structure. I think we thought of Steingrim as our leader, and he actually wrote up some rule sets and stuff, and that became a little bit formal and whatnot. But I think in part the fact that a number of people had similar ideas, a similar period that they were focused on. We assisted each other by getting a thing or doing a thing. The tent, the house tent that Ulfred eventually built and whatnot. All of those things came about because we were not trying to one up each other, but just to add to the overall feeling of where we would camp together, and we'd say, oh, you made a neat thing. I wonder if I could do a similar thing, or I've enhanced our things like this. And I just liked, for my camp, I liked it to be tidy and clean and have all the non-period stuff put away. I don't know why you wouldn't want to do that. I and that shouldn't be taken wrong. I don't think poorly of anybody that doesn't do that. That's what I wanted to do. So when I sat there and I could look around in my encampment and I could feel like maybe this would be similar to what it might have been like.
Well, I think, I don't think you ever come across as denigrating anybody else. You've always sort of done by example and inspired by example. And I know that I camped very near the Varangians when I first started, and I did not have any kind of good tent, and nobody made me feel unwelcome. So,
Good.
yeah. I don't think that's an issue. But it was, I mean, coming from like a newcomer's eyes, and I guess I wasn't that new. I was maybe 2 years in. Just seeing like the boxes you had and the bed and the tent and you know, everything. It was something to aspire to. And you know, and Steingrim's the same way, and Torgal stuff. I mean, you guys all had really great stuff. And the kingdom is predominantly a Viking kingdom, I think, still, right?
Except for those Romans.
Yeah. We marry them and tame them.
So you started in 79 and got knighted in 1983. So that's pretty quick. Was that quick for the time, or was that kind of a normal progression?
I think it was relatively normal. I know that in that the last year and a half or two leading up to it, I was pretty much fighting twice a week, all summer long, and at least once a week over the winter. So yeah, it's hard to say. I know that the times have certainly lengthened, and I think in part because the fighting level, the average level, has gradually drifted upward, and so it's harder, and more people are here. The last Knights Council I was at, which has been quite a few years now, was ginormous, and it was a much smaller thing then. You know, there'd be perhaps 20 knights at a crown event that would sit at a council, maybe a few more, but not many. And so perhaps it was easier in that sense to excel. It's hard for me to say.
During that time, though, wasn't there sort of like an unofficial like tourney circuit that you guys all hit to like get seen? Like you guys, like, it seems like Eagles was a big thing back then. And
Eagles was a huge thing.
The thing over in Seagert.
Daffodil tournament. Those were the two big ones. Of course, the Daffodil was the big one because it was off season. I mean, that was really the first one of the year to go to, and the Sigurtians were exceptional hosts, very, very welcoming folks up there. That was also outside of my experience. Meet all these people, these strangers that would just, you know, take you into their houses and put you up and treat you nicely and stuff. It was really cool. So though, I mean, you've named the two big ones other than the crown ones. Eagles was a huge thing to go in and prove yourself against the best fighters. Some from out of kingdom, even later on, as that started to become a thing.
I thought there were more. I wouldn't have named them all.
Well, no, I was trying to think about that earlier today.
Like and Mayfair, maybe, or
there was like a June fair thing, but I mean, the Daffodil was the start of the season, and then we went to everything we could, the wars, different sorts of things like that. But from a tourney perspective, those were the ones, and then of course the two crowns and champions. I guess champions matters.
Yeah.
So that's a five big ones.
Yeah. Well, it's more than there is now. I mean, now it's really just Ursulamus and the two crowns and champions. I mean, those are the big four.
Yeah.
So
Ursulamus,
I just thought there was a few more.
Yeah, Ursulamus had started in that armory up there in the north, sleeping on the concrete floor there. That was something for young people to do.
It certainly was. Do you want to look at some more pictures? Because I have some cool old pictures.
Sure.
Do that. So I can see the goat on the shield, so I know which
Yeah.
one it's you.
Yeah, that's the gear I mostly fought in when I was competing. It was just a like a moving blanket sort of thing that I sewed up into a gambeson, and then gathered up some plates, a kidney belt, whatever the minimum was required.
And this is still Squire Dak, right?
Um,
Looks like a red belt.
yeah, probably.
Come on. There we go.
And that's Torgal and I posing a little bit there. But yeah, that's I think my favorite fight of all time was was with Torgal in a crown that we fought in the West. We drove down with Ulfred in my little car, and uh, we all fought for Bolverk. Um, all three of us.
Was she there too?
Huh?
Did she go with you?
She was there already. She and Gerhard von Nordplammen lived down in the West,
Okay.
and at that time they had they had an open crown, and we vary with that too. But we went down and fought in it, and I had a fight with Torgal later in the rounds, and I think it was I lost, but I think it was one of my best fights ever, the way I remember it. And I'm glad there's no video of it because it would disturb my memory of how perfect it was. But it felt like I felt like I did my best, and that we put on quite an exhibition. So maybe nobody else remembers it that way, but I sure do.
That's the crown that Torgal went to the finals with William the Lucky, right?
He did.
Yeah. Torgal talked about that a little bit in his interview. That was cool.
Yeah.
So who did Bolverk fight for?
She was not fighting at that in that particular crown. Yeah.
I thought maybe you guys rock, paper, scissored it.
No.
Okay.
So that's the first coronation costume. Grendel's lady Catriona led the charge on putting that all together. I'm not sure today. I still have it in a chest downstairs, but I'm not sure what brought me to that time period. I just don't know. I think I'd watched some movie or something.
I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever seen you in that time period, ever.
Yeah.
This is a cool picture.
This is a staged one. We were contacted, I think Torgal was contacted by a photographer that wanted some pictures of some stuff. So we got out, we brought the stuff that we had. That was before we started building wooden round shields and stuff quite a while back. And I think, gotten that helmet from Ulfred, who'd put that together for me. And we went to a park a bit south of here, and this guy took all the photographs, and our reward was to get some prints of those things. I got a different one blown up and gave it to my parents. Were happy to have that in their home for quite a long time.
So your mom warmed up to the fighting eventually?
My mom was very enthusiastic about the whole thing. For my 21st birthday, we had a tournament in our backyard. And I didn't know hardly any of these people, but I invited a range of them. Gerhard and Amanda Kendall came down, and they were the Baron and Baroness. I'd stayed with them once for some tournament that we went to up there, and so I invited them down, and they came down.
Wow.
And my parents gave them one of the bedrooms, and they stayed over. And I went to the libraries at the University of Washington and went through all these ancient cookbooks and came up with a raft of medieval recipes that my mom produced. We covered the entire table in our dining room with stuff, and we just had a big old feast and had a party outside and a tournament, which Torgal and Ulfred were the finalists. Ulfred, I didn't know from Adam at that point. I'd invited him. He was a Viscount back then, and he came up with Robert McFlandry, and we had a drinking contest. I had a yard of ale, a big glass yard. It was 36 inches tall, and there was a keg of beer that I'd gotten, for the event, and it wasn't fair. Robert could drink that whole thing. So my team, it's two of us struggling to beat just, Ulfred hardly had to drink any. He had to drink like a small glass of beer at the bottom. And we're trying to drink this whole stupid thing. And just wasn't fair.
That's pretty cool of your mom. Was that sort of the precursor to, I can't even remember what they were called, but you would have tournaments in your backyard a lot with the Varangians, right?
Yeah, we had a few. We had a feast before I worked on the basement at all. We just hung up some sheets and put out some candles and stuff. And those small tournaments, I mean, there were enough people that were in the area or that could come up from Portland and sleep over and stuff. Those were fun things to do.
Very cool. All right. I have to, before we go back to the pictures, I just, the helmet that you're wearing in that picture is like, I think when I saw that helmet, when I started playing, I'm like, that is what I want to look like. I just love how it's blued and it has the brass and it's very beautiful. Did you ask Alfred to blue it and stuff like that? Is that like your vision, or was it Alfred's vision? Yours?
Yeah, it was mine, and it's based on one in England that I had occasion to actually see in person in the later '80s. But yeah, that was I'm sorry, Ulfred didn't make a lot of helmets, but he worked that one out, and it's exactly what I wanted, and it was really nice.
It is really nice. Okay, so I should go back to sharing the screen.
Morgana says that she remembers Theoden telling her that the inspiration for the late period garb for your coronation was a man for all seasons.
That sounds right. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So this would be, I think
I'm probably out of order. I did my best.
No. I think I just won champion. So this was, so this was the year after I was knighted. I fought in champions and won. I can't recall who I fought in it. I think that's Ludwig. Is that Ludwig?
He's very tall.
Yeah, Ludwig von Lemminghaus, perhaps.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Ben says Edward Ross.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah.
Sven has that kind of memory. He can.
Yeah. No, it absolutely was. Yeah, I remember.
Cool.
How many times were you Kingdom champion?
Well, this was I fought in this one and won this one. And then the second time was when Sven was champion and won the tournament. At this time when I won the next crown, I fought in and won that, and we didn't have a tradition of giving it up. I kept the champion sword and as crown prince, and then of course that changed. The convention changed, and so Uther made me champion for Sven.
That was the coolest.
Gave that up. I'm thankful to him, and I will be until I die. That was a wonderful time for me.
Super cool. So I have a question, because I talked to somebody Monday, and they were saying that it was a shame that their sort of state didn't have a name. And I'm like, does our sort of state have a name? Does our sort of state have a name? Has it ever had a name?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
It was made by Blackhand. The blade was made by Blackhand. The fittings were cast by Admiral Stormcrow, and I believe Blackhand assembled it. And then people have maintained it obviously over time. But,
I don't know if that's the same day. Is that the same day?
that's so that would probably be yeah, I know I was champion for Barrick. I don't remember which side of that I was on, but this is probably at the swearing in. I think he was king when I won, and then I served with them. Their little toddlers following me around, and they could say my name. So Evan was Dak 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 Dak.
Very cool.
It's really cute.
He was much smaller than he is now.
Yeah, he has. Well, gosh, they're not even. His kids aren't even toddlers anymore.
Yeah,
they're getting older.
Yeah. Yeah, the best of times out on the Viking boats that Stormcrow ran for us.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I had a heck of a sunburn too. You wouldn't be surprised to learn.
No, I'm not surprised.
After this cruise. Yep.
That's one of the lessons that you learn is never wrestle with Dak. Just don't.
I thought it was Alfred that you don't wrestle with.
Well, there's probably lots of people you shouldn't wrestle. I wouldn't wrestle with Gunnar Brunwolf.
That's probably a really good rule of thumb.
I did when I won the second time with Clifford that night. I was staggering around having a few beers, and I decided to wrestle with Gunnar, and he was very, very patient and picked me up and inverted me, and then touched my head to the ground and said, "That's what it takes to win, isn't it?" Just one body part touching the ground, and yeah, that'll do it.
Okay.
Sven says, "Don't play the hand game with Dak."
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you guys just like go out on excursions, or was this in conjunction with an event? It looks like you guys are wearing modern clothes, or some of you are.
Yeah, some of the folks were. I have this Denmark shirt on because my skin I had burned so badly and didn't bring the right stuff to wear. Mostly they were events organized by Stormcrow, and he invited who he wanted. His primary focus was taking the royalty out on these cruises, and then they would assemble a list along with the crew that Stormcrow put together to keep people safe, and expecting that a lot of folks couldn't or wouldn't know quite how to behave, how to run the boat. And so they could just sit around and tell stories and get in trouble. Mostly out of a bit north of the Seattle area. He'd take us out here or there and back again. Let's see.
I think, is that you back there, maybe?
Yeah, that's it looks like Colgrim in the front there.
Oh my God, look at Fiat too.
And then I'm towards the back, and that might be Ulfred to the right there.
Yeah.
It looks like is that the coronation for?
Looks like maybe Gunnar. No, maybe not.
No, it might be Eric. I'm not sure.
Sven will probably chime in and tell us who it is.
Yeah.
That's Groa and Maya sitting there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Who is the queen? Is that Octavia?
I don't recognize her.
I don't know.
Computer doesn't like it when I make the thing big.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I'll stop sharing and we can talk. Okay.
Yeah, Sven says it's Octavia is queen, and that is his mom.
He said it is his mom, so I was not wrong.
okay.
It looked like his dad's hair to me.
Yeah, It's a very recognizable.
Okay.
So-
Well, oh, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
Mm-mm.
I'll wrestle you for it. I was going to ask, so you ended up fighting in Crown and winning.
Mm.
How did you pick who to fight for?
That's it. It was suggested to me. I think for both of the times, it was suggested to ask these particular ladies to fight for them, and I honestly don't remember clearly what was. I mean, I was very pleased. I think I ruled with two of the best of queens, not to impugn any other queen of Ontario or any other place, but I think mine were the best. They certainly eased my reign and my ability to do and acted as equal partners, and I think more than that, bore the brunt of the details of organizing and doing the reign, and allowed me to carry on with the martial traditions that I was happiest being involved in. So I wish I could give a better story about how it came to be them. I just don't clearly recall. Just
Both
that
of
it was suggested that, this would be a great lady to fight for, and so I asked, and they agreed, and thus
Three.
here we are. Yeah,
You had some really good advisors, because both of them are stellar administrators and organizers.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And big personalities.
Yeah.
for sure.
So I do have pictures of you winning Crown in your reign. So why don't we'll just make sure that my computer works and we will share some more pictures. I don't know what this is from. Is this a jog of memory?
The it 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 certainly, so the deal with Clifford, that was if this is the second time, Clifford was knighted that day, so he may have just been knighted there. I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's
I just thought it was a cool picture.
it is. I mean, that it's Eric as king and Gunnar as champion. Yeah, and then that other guy
And then Dak and his epicness.
saying stuff. That also is one of the tunics that I sewed. It's
Oh, cool.
pretty awful.
It fits you really nicely.
Yeah. Dayton. So this is at some point in our first reign. Yeah. Not sure which one, but
Processional.
this must be,
In the
yeah,
finals.
yeah, with
So what happened to that body armor?
Can you make it bigger, Rifkin?
Yes, I can.
that. So that is
And that Christian behind you?
Christian and Corwin, who didn't stay in the group, didn't proceed. I'm still in a little bit of contact with him, but yeah, definitely I see Christian all the time, and that would be us going in, yeah, to before the tournament, huh?
Wow.
Or maybe finals. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's probably right. Yeah.
It kind of looks like a final processional to me, but
Yeah, we might not have had all the cool heralds, personal heralds and stuff then. They just announced us,
So was Sven not your squire yet? Like he's not in any
Oh
of the
gosh.
pictures, like helping you out.
Yeah, I don't, he's definitely a much younger man at this time, because this would have been what, 85 or something?
So he's probably 12 or something.
Yeah. He's getting ready to become my squire.
When did he become your squire? How old was he?
Gosh, we were just talking about it. I think it was 16. I think when he was 16.
Is he the youngest person you ever took as a squire?
Chrissy may have been, she was 15 or 16.
She looks pretty young in these pictures.
Yeah, and Corwin was also about that same age. They started showing up at fighting practice there, and they were just really neat folks. And I was pleased that I got along with them and offered them the position and shuttled them around when we could still bring, younger folks to events without parents and whatnot. But I'm not sure what event this one's at, but
But you're looking regal.
yeah.
That hand gesture. Sven says his 16th birthday.
I
Okay.
think it's pretty cool when younger people want to be mentored by somebody, and obviously you're doing something right to make these people feel included, that 3 people in their teenage years came to you to be fostered and to put them on the path to knighthood. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I did make him wear funny costumes. I think Christian might have one on there in the background. I did these party colored gold and black.
Yeah, she does.
Did they have to wear like uniforms?
They were kind of like uniforms. I reversed the colors for each of them, I think, but yeah.
But everybody knew they belonged to you because they were wearing your black and yellow.
They did, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I saw that one just the other day. I love that the fur that Oak has, and I subsequently acquired a few furs after seeing that and some of the others. Ulfred has that coronet now.
I was gonna say, I think this is the only picture I've ever seen of you in a county coronet.
Yeah, I actually cut that myself under Torgal's tutelage. Cut it out from a band of silver and fabricated it myself, and I was pleased to be able to offer it to Ulfred when he.
It's such a nice piece. It's so subtle.
It is.
When did this tradition start? Do you know?
I don't. I don't recall. I know that I always was eager to be one of the guys carrying the new prints. It's just such a thrill, to be able to pick them up. And of course, they're all big people around there, so they're pretty light. But yeah, that's. I think it's a great tradition, and kind of, has us all bonded together. We all fought in the same tournament, and it's just this thing about being with your peers but being elevated by them. I don't know.
It's like this instant show of support.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And a physical representation of that elevation is kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, you look super relaxed in this picture. I don't know if I'd look that relaxed if I was on 4 people's shoulders.
Yeah, at that point you've done. You've won, and it isn't the victory. It's the contest is over. And it's very relaxing. It's a fun celebration. It's kind of uncomfortable too. You're kind of wiggling all around and not. But yeah, I think it's a great tradition. So
Awesome.
Not having been dropped.
I've never seen anyone get dropped.
No, and nor should they be. That'd be a terrible portent.
It would be bad to be that person that got dropped.
All right, I'm there. Did that come up, a new picture?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, look at all those guys.
So this is you.
Yeah,
Looks like you're
And
fighting for Lao.
Laos behind you.
yeah. Barracks next to me, and
So
to the other side is Whedon, Crowsdale, Garin, I think. That might is Montford next, and then Grendel.
yeah. Who's the blonde in the ponytail behind you? Do you know?
Mm,
Some tall guy.
Maybe it's not a guy.
Maybe.
yeah, I'm not sure.
Hmm. Oh, she's so beautiful.
Yeah, those cornets that are pretty neat. Those were also, I believe, fabricated by Stormcrow.
And they still get used quite a bit, don't they?
Uh,
Yeah.
Did they? Yeah. I know they came up with a new set. I've just always been partial to those because
They're steeped in history.
they are.
Oak says that the blonde is Master Rolf.
Oh, is it Rolf? Okay.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
He's a
So,
great guy.
is this your step up? Do you remember?
It likely is. I don't remember it clearly. Those just a kind of a blur for me, unfortunately. Scalanis in the background there.
Yeah.
Maya, Rogned.
Very cool.
This was a good time. The war down there. Yeah.
Is this an Ontario West War or what is this?
It is, yeah, Ontier West War. I think this was one of the northern ones, and Jade came up, and if I remember, this might have been one of the ones where there were not too many Westerners, but I could be confusing that. I know at one of the wars that I was at, there were perhaps only 5. There was something going on, and I can't recollect, but not too many of them came up, and if I recall, this was it. Jade insisted on having a native battle. Uh,
Lao
so,
says that that picture was of your stepping down.
oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
well.
figured she
there-
would know. Like when you
there you
make
go.
clothes like that, you can associate, right?
No, I'm really happy that some people are correcting me because although that story did happen, it just isn't this picture. I didn't make the story.
Oh no, the
No, that's
previous picture is stepping down. This is Ontario West
Oh.
War. You're
Oh.
right. I'm
Oh, gosh.
sorry.
Uh,
I mean to
Boy,
mislead you.
really thrown off there.
We're gonna break his brain.
Sorry.
Now this must have been just
After you won. You know what I love about this picture is that she has the big notebook.
oh, okay, right, yeah. No, it has to be because I wouldn't be in my gambeson there. Then another gambeson I sewed up, much better than the moving blanket.
At some point, they stopped this tradition of handing the notebook over in court.
Oh, okay,
I don't know. I don't see it anymore, but yeah,
yeah.
it's cool.
But that's like for people that don't know, that's like the tome of how to drive the bus.
All the lessons learned and
How to drive
everything.
the
Yeah.
bus.
It is.
So is that a young Davin next to you? Or is that Oak? That's Oak.
Yeah, that's Oak and Christian
Garen,
in the white, Garen in the sunglasses, Steingrim and Torgal in the back left, Angharad, Grendel, Ulfred. This might be Ulfred's wedding.
Cool. You guys both look 12 here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Christian was close to that, and I was just a few years older. So, yeah.
I loved it though. I was like, wow. It's very cute. I love the way that Lau did her makeup during your reign. It's just she went all for it.
Oh gosh, yeah. This must have been down in Three Mountains, the Geneltis feast, perhaps. Isn't that Geneltis there?
That's
Yeah, I think it is, Janelle.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's her banner, and those are the royal banners that she made.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Pleased to have had the opportunity to meet her. She seemed like a really wonderful lady.
You're just in the back here again. But I
Oh,
thought maybe
yeah.
you're a champion, but it doesn't. Maybe you're not champion.
No, I'm just on the retinue. Yeah, my squire's belt there, and that was a thing to do. Get people on the retinues to familiarize them, and
Is this one of the tournaments in your backyard? Maybe.
it. I wouldn't think so with that black pavilion up, but it's hard to say. So this would be after the my chest protector there, though. That is, I believe that's Robert McFlandry's vambrace. Oh, I'm not joking. Uh,
That's the best.
Yeah, Ulfred had it as a chest protector, and I believe I didn't have one of my own, or I'd forgotten it. And Ulfred had converted that vambrace into a chest protector. It was,
Wow.
yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
Some random practice, I think.
I think it's you fighting Sven. Maybe.
I was going to say over in, perhaps over in Wieldschmier.
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
You and Thorin, maybe?
Yeah. Probably me losing to Thorin, but
You're in
who,
good company.
who didn't?
Right. But this is like sort of an iconic Dak pose. Like you have such good posture and such good balance when you fight. See, every time I compliment you, you get very quiet. Which I can relate to, so.
It's very
tough.
distinctive.
I admire all the guys that can talk more eloquently about what they do fighting, and the guys that have built systems and can teach better than I ever could. It was the hardest thing, having squires of varying sizes, to learn, and I'm not sure that I ever did, having having learned post facto, I guess, to that some of the things that I thought were doable were not doable. Size and different characteristics matter, and I didn't pick up on that as fast as I could have.
How did you troubleshoot that with Christian? Because she was tiny.
That was a problem. She had to figure out a few things on her own too. I know that she worked with Thorn a fair amount, as well as a number of others, because I wasn't able to give everything that she needed, in part because of that stature and everything. We could work on movements and everything, but I could have done better at, and I think I learned from that too, but still, it's something I wish that I could have done a little better, has been more thoughtful in that way about trying to understand the problems that she had. I mean, frankly, she went out against a pretty tough crew there in in that practice and just kept going, stayed on the field and again. And so that kind of resolution, I think about what I went through, and it was nothing at all. It wasn't that hard. I mean, I got beat up a lot too, but I didn't have to look up at everybody.
Right.
Were there other women fighting at the time that she was fighting at that practice, or was she the only one?
The only, so I'm sure that somebody could correct me, but from my recollection, Bulwark was the person that was closest, of course, in stature, but in tenacity as well. They fought different styles, Bulwark with a round and Christian was with a heater and whatnot. But that, I think that was about it. Folks that I thought of as serious at the time, I guess. So, but I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. Those were the people that I was circulating with, I think. So,
Right.
How many squires have you had knighted?
let's see. It would be Christian and Colgram and Max and Sven. Oh, don't let me forget anyone. I think
That's not that. This isn't a test.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, I mean that's a pretty God, words are failing me.
Formidable lineup.
Yeah, it's a formidable lineup. I think you did something right. I think, I don't think anybody can be everything to anyone, and I think part of being a good teacher and a trainer is knowing the holes that you have and allowing your students to fill those holes with other trainers. So I was just gonna say it's a very esteemed list of squires that are knights.
I agree totally. We used to, one of the things that you'd think about once in a while is who would you stand with, or who would stand with you in a in a native forces sort of thing. If each knight came up with his squires, or each tree of fighters, who would take the field, and I'd be happy to stand with mine.
And the your grand squires as well. I mean, it's just a really esteemed lineage. The whole tree is just a lot of really amazing people, not just fighters, but well-rounded peers. So
You did something right.
But I'm proud. I'm certainly proud of all of them and the things that they've done, both in the group and in the rest of their lives. I think I've been closer than many to the whole of their lives, and they're all great people.
cool. All right, should we finish out the pictures?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So this just looks like maybe a crown list or something. I don't know.
It probably is Torgel and myself, Garen, and is that?
That's Ulfred, I think.
Yeah. Ulfred and Edward Ian Anderson, I think.
That's Edward Ian Anderson?
It is. Look at the plaid pants.
That's armor. That's not.
Is it?
That's armor. That's like armor that's crisscrossed leather.
Well, it's Ed.
Okay. I trust you all.
Yeah.
This is just a different view, I think.
This is Scholanus and Blackhand, Torgel and I, Ulfred, and it's what, Grendel, and or is that Manfred?
I think it's Manfred.
It's Manfred, yeah. Yeah. My favorite form, the bastard sword.
Are you being serious or facetious?
No, that's the most scared I ever was on the field, standing with that thing and without a shield.
Well, you have an axe there, I think.
Oh, the axe, yeah, pretty amped up, stabby people in front of you, and you've got this axe. So you have to just really keyed up and hit it. Probably the hardest that I ever swung was when I was using that thing too. Not ideal, of course, but man, the
There's
field.
no comfort zone.
Yeah, yeah. This one would be one of the ones in the backyard. Those were fun, staking out a spot of ground and fighting through that.
You're right there. I thought this was a cool picture because there's you and then there's Sven in the background, and it's kind of cool.
One of the melees before a crown, perhaps.
Or a squire's turning, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know who a lot of those people are, Rifkin?
No.
Sorry.
I try to. They're too small for me to tell.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I won't torture all of us.
Yeah. So Steingrim and Christian Snighting, I believe.
Yeah, Christian Snighting.
Wow.
'30th year, maybe Fiox Knighting.
Hmm.
That's what I think this is.
Can you make it big? No. never mind.
Yeah, I can. Because you have Alden back there.
Yeah,
That looks
certainly.
like Yeneman, maybe.
Some interkingdom thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's up with the big horn in this picture?
Oh gosh, who had that? Is that? I know that. I don't think that's the yak horn. I can't recollect.
Is it a Grendel thing?
I remember that being around for a time, but I don't remember what the occasion was. All those red cloaks there, the Varangians are doing up to some kind of hijinks, but
The oath and the boast thing, or I don't know.
yeah. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Yeah. I wonder whatever happened to that mace. It was gifted, and I think during Thorin's reign, and it was then handed to the crown prince would bear it, and it was super dangerous to carry around with those spikes and everything all over it, and I think it just vanished.
Somebody made it go away.
Yeah, I had to
Made the
carry it around.
executive decision.
Yeah, yeah, it just left. But
And just a quick shout out. This is one of Aladar's pictures. He's
okay.
got a lot of great old photos that he has generously shared on the Facebooks that we use a lot. So
Yes, thank you. I
yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
I didn't realize that was regalia.
It was for a time. I know I carried it.
A brief time. We have proof.
This is Sven going forward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the story, a story that has totally stuck with me is God, I think it was Sven's second step down, and he went up for his ducal, and they're like, well, whose sword do you want to swear on? And he was like, it has to be Dak. It has to be Dak. It has to be Dak. And then Avalok made this whole shtick. But I bring that up because there's obviously a very deep bond between the two of you. Is that something that you cultivate with your squires, or is there something different there? Like,
I don't know. I don't know that it's deliberate. Like cultivation would be, it seems to me the natural way to be with these people that I've I'm taking on and forming this bond with, and it could be for some it's different, and that's certainly fine. But I care very much about each of them, and for some of them, it just seems natural to be a bigger part of their lives, and there's a place for me, and there's certainly a place for them in my life. And I'm very happy that it's worked out that way, um, for 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 them, and for me.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a really a heartfelt thing to watch. I think there's quite a few pictures of the two of you together now because we're in more modern. But just to see the bond and how much you guys love each other, really,
Yeah.
it's pretty special.
I'm not crying.
Now he is the only one of my squares that's ever cracked my palate. But other than that, but that's because I made him wrestle me. So
Oh, so Sven goes on the list of people not to wrestle.
not right after he's beat his dad wrestling for the first time.
I'm imagining like Incredible Hulk, but
Yeah, it was a little like that. Except I wasn't the Hulk guy. So yeah, this is a really neat picture. That's after he'd become king, and I got to be his champion. One of the high points in my career. At that point, I was still fighting, and we went down to a war with the West on their side, and I was able to hold the field until no one else came out to face me. Now it was like 100 degrees, and Uther, I believe, was king at the time, and he actually peeled me out of my heavy steel chain and loaned me a set of aluminum a link once. But I went back out and stayed till no one would come out, and
very cool.
it makes me very happy. Yeah.
That's a great memory. Come on.
That looks like an Asa tunic that he's wearing there.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There.
Speaking of Grand Squires.
Yeah, I just thought that was cool that you all three were in the picture.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vic's another great guy.
You have a pretty cool lineage. Who's that handsome guy?
I don't know. That's got to be some 12th night thing, right? And,
Yeah.
Hotel room.
There you're in your Gambison, still fighting?
yeah, I'm probably out because I don't have the rest of the gear on. So whatever it was, just spectating.
This is the hat I always think of you in.
Oh yeah.
Did you felt that yourself?
No, my lady did, Ragnar.
Okay, that's right. Cool.
And then somebody, oh, now this is embarrassing. And then maybe Ula cleaned it up, redid it. If not her, then I'm sorry. But somebody did take it and refelt it. It was coming apart a little bit. So
Awesome.
Just another cool picture. I think this is my knighting.
Yeah, I think that's
It looks hot.
everybody's position is right for your knighting.
Bulwark, yeah. Yep.
She's so awesome.
She is.
Is this your property or?
No, this was a little thing up in the hills. Hiked in and did a did a little thing. We fought a bit, and yeah, this. I don't even think this was an SCA event. It was just a bunch of us that got up, hiked in a little bit.
Cool. I like that one too, because it's
I,
two of my favorite views.
I like it too. Yeah.
And you both look a little mischievous.
You do.
Yeah.
I think this is the last.
whole family there. Yeah, that's a while ago.
All right, I will stop sharing.
Okay.
Torgel says that was the camping thing was Foss.
Was it? Okay. I couldn't remember if it was that one. I know we did another one, but that's the one I was thinking of. Cool.
It helps when everybody's watching and can help jog the memories.
And that they have decent memories too. Yeah.
I don't remember anything anymore, so I understand.
So can I ask you, is there a story behind your chain?
This chain?
Yeah.
This one is one that Sven gifted me. I think I'd complained one too many times about having given mine away a long time ago and not having one. And it was a gift from him some years ago.
Cool. So have we not gone over any stories? Like, do you have any stories you would like to tell us that we haven't jogged your memory on already?
Oh gosh. You know, I'm sure there are a bunch of them, but I don't. mm, yeah, none that leap forward. There's lots of them that are important to me and whatnot, but nothing that seems particularly important to other people.
You would be surprised. People love to hear other people's stories.
Yeah. So I'll just ask, what was one of your favorite things about raining?
About which?
About raining, either rain.
Oh yeah, the stepping down.
I love how honest you are.
Well, the whole thing is so scheduled and packed, and getting everything fit in and not shorting anybody their time. I remember the transition from doing multiple award of arms, from doing singular award of arms to doing multiples at once. And you've just got so many hours in the day, and people have to sit out there in the sun and everything. But that stuff I took pretty seriously. As I think everyone does. I don't mean to say that I stood out, but it was important to me to respect that award for each one of those people. It might be the only one they get. It might be something that's very important to them. Um, and trying to do your best at that, it's draining to do that all day long, and to sit through the peerage meetings and listen um, actively, and to take in and remember what each person has said, and to try and do it what I think to a standard that I think is right. It's very, very consuming. Lots of rewards too. People bring you stuff and give you little things that they've worked on and made. There's lots of rewards too, but having to stay focused like that all day and into the night, and then do it again the next day. Um, I I don't know. I'm glad some people like to do it more than uh, once or twice, but good for them. I I think that it's hard work, and so that's stepping down. I'm not just joking about that. It is such a relief to walk out of there, and think that you've done okay at it, at least, that you didn't screw up too bad. So it's nice to just get out of it.
Are there any? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so, and you never had any desire to fight, to win another one, to do another one?
Not enough. It Yeah, it's tough. I fought in crowns, but I always felt mixed about it because I didn't having had that experience and the burden of it really. I It was hard to want it bad enough to put in the work to get there. And I don't know if I could have. There's lots of very good fighters out there, and I don't know that I could have, done it a third time. But I certainly struggled mentally to to want to do it a third time.
Are there any particular traditions or awards that were created during your reigns that still exist?
Um, I I
You don't
I,
know. That's okay.
I don't know.
Carp, maybe?
Lau may have created the carp. That I would have on a test. I would have marked that down, but but
We give you a multiple choice and then
yeah. Um, but I can't remember for sure, unfortunately.
no, that's fine.
Aladar says carp. Yes.
I didn't know if it was her first reign or her second reign.
She says yes, carp. So
Excellent.
Well, she knows. She
we
definitely
nailed
knows.
it. That's good.
And I fully supported the creation of that, although it was entirely her concept.
Support is important.
It is.
That's awesome.
So do you want me to do the final 10 or you have more questions, Shakti?
A couple of people have mentioned in their interviews that the tradition of doing Norse poetry and doing like the Oath and the Boast found its root with you. You're making a face though, so I'm thinking maybe that's not the case.
No, I'm proud to have had a skald in my reign. Gleowine was an exceptional performance artist as well. He was. I don't think he was appreciated as well as he should have been. He was certainly appreciated by me, and I noticed that the the poem that he wrote for commemorating the second reign, the victory there against Clifford. He wrote a nice piece, and it's up on the wiki. And I just reread it this morning, and man, it sure gets my heart pumping. It's just beautifully done, and his performances were exceptional. So if that helped with the tradition, I know he was performing before me and without my aid, but I was certainly happy to take him on and to give him some small pieces during the reign for his performances.
Wasn't one of the requirements for entry in your backyard tournaments was that people had to write some sort of kenning or?
Oh yeah, we did yeah, and I've still got several years of those. Of Had him write a small set of verses in the Drachtvat form, and I gave him instructions on how to do it, and some of them were pretty funny. Some of them were ribald. I'm not sure, and but most of them were great efforts and heartfelt too. Yeah, it was fun to help people get a little taste of that, the pacing and the way to summarize, to distill down some of the cool elements.
That has really stuck with people. That's one of those, maybe something that you don't think was a big deal, but that has really shaped a lot of people's experience in the SCA. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, Matthias brought that up, didn't he?
I think it was Matthias and maybe Fiak as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool stuff. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
I I
Put you
don't.
on the spot. Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay. So final 10 then?
Well, I kind of feel like I should tailor the final 10 because I should. Who are your favorite people to watch fight?
Oh gosh, that's back through time, you know, all of the guys, and anybody fighting at their peak on that day that they have it. Any crown finals almost, where it's clean and crisp and the people are flowing, that they're in a state that they'll only be in once or twice in their lives, maybe a few more times for a very few, but those are the best fights because you can share, you felt it, and you can have a closer sense to what they're going through. But all of the guys were great to watch. Steingrim, and he faced some challenges when he had been a duke from the West before we were even a kingdom. He'd won those tournaments, and he came up. We came down, and some of us got better, and he wasn't doing so as well as he felt he could, and he reinvented it and brought it all together, and got much better. Other guys that kind of plateaued for a while, and then got very much better at some years into their careers after they'd been knighted, and then they got so much better. That's just amazing to me to watch and fight and see those changes that they've been able to, through just their will, to bring about in them. And that's inspiring. I think it should be inspiring to anybody, that demonstrating that you can always get better, I think. And so, without, I'm not sure what else to say about that one.
Okay, I think that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Do you have a mentor or a hero in the SCA, and if so, who is it?
All of the people have helped me so much. I'm very close with Ulfred to this day, and those guys. When I say those guys, the people from Three Mountains, I go down there and whatnot, and that whole group of folks, they seemed much older than me back then, and because I was 19 or 20 and they were 25 or 26, it's much older, and they had their own houses and place, stuff like that. And so then they were like that. Now they're more like good, slightly older brothers. But I mean, Torgal taught me an awful lot of things, and I hope I helped him a little bit too. But other than that, I don't know. I think when a whole bunch of names come tumbling over of people that I've met and have been inspired by, but I don't know about I wasn't ever in really anybody else's household or anything like that. So if I'm not forgetting or leaving anything out, but yeah, I don't have a good answer there.
It's impossible to name everyone. I mean, it's just impossible. People try and you just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. What book do you think everyone on the path to knighthood should read?
Oh golly. Yeah. That's I don't know. I hosted Uther here, I think, on your behalf once, and he talked about a set of books that all of his squires had to read and everything like that. And I thought that was pretty impressive. And I thought to myself, gosh, I wasn't a very good knight. I didn't make any of my squires read or anything like that. But I really don't have a recommendation there. I would offer any of this stuff in my something inspiring, any of the Norse sagas, something to give you a sense of the time and a vision for what you want to be. But it's so dependent on what the persona and what your interests are. I don't really have anything that to name off there.
What's your favorite saga?
Oh, I'd I'd have to say that that Njals is the one I like best. I don't like how Egil ends. I don't. He's not a very happy old man, crouching by the stove and shouting at all the help, half blind and whatnot. Although Njal doesn't, have that great a fate either. I don't want to spoil anything for people that haven't read it, but Njal doesn't make it to the end of the saga either. The I mean, just the whole breadth of that thing is pretty impressive.
So I just want to say thank you for, I think you've hosted Lucan on my behalf too. So you've always been there for me when people have allergies or whatever, and I can't put them up myself. And I really, really, really appreciate that. So
It was a pleasure. I wouldn't have, I would, meeting Lucan was a lot of fun too. He seemed like a really neat guy, and we had a nice chat. And I got to know Uther very, very much more than I would have otherwise. And he's also a remarkable figure to have interacted with.
I feel a little bad now. Oh, I did that twice to him. Okay. What is your favorite on-tier tradition?
I think the one that we didn't have that is pretty regularly practiced now is the ring of steel, the knights swearing their oath of fealty with the blades out and that weight upon the new king. I it's just beautiful to me to see that and to be able to participate in it with a real object, something that you cherish. We represent that with the rattan on the field, but it's the sword that really is the heart of, for me, of what we do. And so that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Was that tradition in place when you reigned?
It was not.
Do you know how it came to be?
I'm not at all sure. I mean, it would have certainly been startling to a king if the knights had done it on their own. So I presume
Somebody.
somebody knows whose idea it was, but I don't recall.
We should go back in time and give you your ring of steel. Okay, what do you think is the most important trait to become a successful fighter?
That's, gosh, it's certainly not your physical what you are there. It's got to be a mental, the dogged pursuit of staying out there and practicing and learning and not worrying about how well you're doing. The fact that you're pursuing a thing that you're getting, even if it doesn't feel like you're getting better at a thing, it's got to be rewarding to you to pursue it. And I don't know if that's something that you can teach somebody. They either have it and that they've got the mental toughness to go after a thing and do whatever they need to do to continue to pursue it. I don't know if that's a good answer, but that's the best I've got.
I think it's a great answer. What advice would you give to a new champion of On-Tier?
To a new champion.
Win crown?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, get good insoles because you got a year of standing at court. So you as a champion bears the honor of represents that honor of the crown and of the kingdom. Um, there was an unfortunate incident, and Hathawolf happened to be champion at the time, and he he I I was up in court and someone came and spoke a challenge against the crown, and Hathawolf stepped forward and placed himself between those folks that had come forward uninvited, and I just was so proud of him and envious that he got to do that. I don't know if that's another good answer or not, but it's representative of what I think a champion should be and do.
Thank you. I think that my husband has been champion 3 times, and he always talks about the advice that you gave him and how important the role of champion is to him, partially because of what you said to him. And I'm sure it was something similar to what you just said. So thanks.
I think one of the things that makes you such a inspirational knight and like somebody that people want to emulate is that you always are willing to tell the truth, the hard truth, and talk to people when you believe they've messed up, but in a way where it's not accusing. Like, you're super good at that, and you always do it. And I think a lot of us in Knights Council are cowards. We don't do that. We don't tell each other the truth. And I just really appreciate that about you, and I appreciate you modeling that behavior to those people coming up.
Thank you.
Yeah. Torval would like you to show off your sword. Did you make it?
Yeah, this is his work.
Does it have a name?
It doesn't.
Okay.
It has an inscription from the Havamal around the pommel, but not a name. But it's beautiful work.
It really is.
Wow.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you agreeing to do this. I know that, like me, you are a little introverted, and this is a little bit beyond your comfort zone. And I just really appreciate you taking the step out there with us and taking this jog through your STA journey with us, and giving advice and just being you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here, and I think the work you're doing, I looked through how many of these that you've done. It's invaluable. So many people all have their stories, and you've recorded them. They can't be lost now. And I think that's an incredible piece of work that you've done.
Well, thanks. I'm really bummed that we didn't get to Edward Ziffrin before he passed, but
And Abu.
Abu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
all the interviews.
all of them.
We're going to be doing it for years.
Yeah.
So do you want to plug your people, or?
Oh, yeah.
I can plug mine. So Murder this weekend, I'm interviewing Duke Christoph from Atlantia and Duke Malcolm from Eldamir. So that should be super interesting. I haven't done very many, or not Eldamir, he's from Ethelmark. I get those Eldamir Ethelmark things confused. And then on Wednesday, we're talking to His Excellency Oak, which he was in a lot of the pictures tonight. So
yeah.
And Tuesday for the Branch of Laurels interview, I'm interviewing Meisterin Sarah von, I don't know how to do her last name. It's a German thing. She's a second generation SCA, and she was laureled last summer. And she's super fun, so that'll be great.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll hopefully see you next week. And thank you again, Your Grace. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.